Hello, 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 my beautiful empresses. Welcome back to Embody Your Empress. My name is Sarah King, the host of this podcast and founder of Empress Nation. This is the place you want to be. If you want to push yourself out of that comfort zone, but in a safe, regulated way, if you want to open yourself up to new perspectives, and if you want to find out your true aligned self that's begging to come forward. Listen in. We have an amazing guest today. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. We have been lining this up for a couple of times now, and I'm so excited. We have pressed record. My guest today, at a young mum at 34, was diagnosed with cancer. And if that wasn't bad enough, it was one that changed her life dramatically. Welcome to Embody Your Empress, Vikki Feltham.
Hi, thank you for having me. So, um, I'm Vicky, as you said, young mum based in the UK. And a year ago now, I was diagnosed with cancer in my nose, which I had no idea was a thing at all. So until then, I had nosebleeds for around 4.5 years, seeing professionals all the way through, seeking help. Just nobody thought because of my age it could be anything sinister at all. During that time, I had passionately been working on myself. I've always been really into self-development and mindset, doing all the good work, which came into its own, really. I'd also met my husband, taken on a stepson, fell pregnant unexpectedly, had a premature baby at just 4 pounds, managed her through that first year of in and out of hospital all the time. And life was just kind of getting back to normal. And I was working out parenting, navigating being married and all of the step parent stuff. And then boom, was suddenly diagnosed after shouting at a doctor one day saying it can't be healthy to keep having nosebleeds. I'm only 34. um, he took a biopsy and then immediately ordered a scan. And it turned out that I'd had just a little skin cancer, so a squamous cell sarcoma, but it was inside my nose. And because it had gone untested, undetected for so long, it had spread to my septum, my nasal bone, and the skin on the outside of my nose as well. So I had an emergency surgery to remove most of my nose. I kept the tip. And when they did the histology on it, it turned out the cancer was very aggressive. So I then faced chemotherapy and radiotherapy, which radio to your head and neck is quite brutal. I couldn't eat for months because you get all these blisters in your mouth, and swallowing was tricky, and your skin is red raw. It's just horrible. I lost my voice, so I couldn't parent my then 1 year old very well. She was in that naughty phase, and I was whispering, like, oh, don't do that. And then it got to the point where my mouth was so painful that I couldn't open it, just to like air coming into my mouth was really sore. So then I entered recovery January last year. I finished treatment end of January. No, January this year, sorry. And then, yeah, I started to rebuild my life. So the reason I mentioned the self-development side was because that was the kind of foundation I built everything on. I knew that where I was wrong. I had a huge hole in my face where my nose should have been. I had a plastic cup to cover it so I didn't scare my daughter. But I couldn't be reconstructed for 6 months post-treatment because everything had to recover and get healthy again. And I didn't leave the house for about 3 months. And whilst I was a mum in the house and I was going like over and above and killing myself, being knackered after chemo to be the best mum in the whole entire world, I wasn't part of my daughter's life outside the house. And I knew something had to change. So I sort of set about rebuilding myself and rediscovering my value. I'd gone from being, if I say so myself, a reasonably attractive young woman, to suddenly not having a nose. I had a relatively new marriage with my husband's very handsome. I didn't know how he'd feel about me changing my appearance, and a daughter who I knew I had to be a role model for. And before I'd run my own business, but I now didn't feel confident enough to go and do all the sales and things. So I had to work out how to rebuild my career from there. And now, what about 6 to 8 months later, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm outdoors. I barely think about how I look. I've had a 14-hour reconstructive surgery, and I will face three more to make it look a bit better. Um, but I've done all of my rehab and everything. I've got a new job. I'm an international compliance director, and I am, I think, living a life better than before the cancer happened.
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
massive. To live a life better than before. Wow.
Yeah, certainly bigger.
Bigger. Bigger in what way?
Bigger in I think before I was very guilty of what a lot of women, certainly mums and wives, are guilty of, where we're not really the main character in our own lives. We just sort of are here to facilitate everyone else living their best life and to catch all the balls and to think about everyone else, and then maybe get a bit upset when someone doesn't remember what we wanted for our birthday. But then it's fine because it's someone else's birthday next, so we move on. And equally, we're a bit like, whether it's being polite or oppressed, I don't know, but women are a bit cautious to put our dreams out there. So
Mm.
I'd done the career that I should have done. Like whatever I thought looked good on paper, I went and did that. And I didn't really deviate much. I'd always been adventurous. I'd gone on lots of holidays and things, and tried new things. But I hadn't done anything that I was like, oh, that just sounds really fun. I'll just go and do that. And now I am very much the main character of my own life. My poor husband has to run around catching balls after me and work out how he's going to manage the kids while I'm off doing something else.
Good.
And I
Yeah.
like, if I don't like something, I'll draw the boundary and put it in and say, you need to do this. And I've also, so I've got through to the final of a beauty pageant, which is not at all who I am. I'm not a fabulous, wonderful, like glamourpuss. But I just thought, you know what, it sounds fun. When else do you get to wear a princess dress in real life and go and dress up and do that? So in March, I'm competing in a beauty pageant, and I'm going to Ibiza for a wellness retreat because I just thought that sounded nice. And just
Oh,
living a bigger, more fulfilling life.
oh my gosh, I love that so much. Yes, to the princess dress, absolutely. My photos, I put a big princess dress on because I wanted photos in a princess dress. And why not? When you're in your
Yeah,
30s and 40s, put the princess dress on, put the crown on. Hopefully, you'll walk away with yours.
fingers
I
crossed.
love that. The main character energy, what you just said about women running around after everyone else and not getting the birthday presents they want, that just landed with me. As we're recording it, it's just been Christmas, and that was actually a thought that I had crossed my mind. Here I am on Christmas Eve, and I'm a single mum, so
Oh,
I am the pressure of getting the kids to sleep and then making sure the Santa presents come out and the cookies have been munched and the milk's gone and then glitter is scattered all around the house and making sure all the elves have disappeared. The pressure that I put on myself and also that they were really excited for all of these things to be happening. I was just like, where is the where does the line get drawn where I become a part of this as well?
mm.
And that has crossed my mind in previous years. So I actually buy myself a Christmas present every year just
Ah,
to make sure that I get something that I want, just in case. I don't know if
yeah,
that's pessimistic, but I like to think of it as taking care of Sarah as well, because I am putting my energy out there into everyone else as you do. And then it's really important for us to step back and be, hang on a minute, what's filling me up on this day? And that's just Christmas, but that happens for birthdays as well. And that if it continues, it runs over into our whole life. And while I would never like a wake up call, like what you went through to be able to switch that main character energy on, there are dark nights of the souls that people go on in different variations to have that moment of wake up, I guess, to be like, I need to start putting myself first in my life. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. I think we deserve magic too, don't we? As
we
women, we
do.
run around making magic for everybody. And what you described at Christmas is exactly that. And
You're
it's
right.
just remembering that we need the magic as well. every day, not just Christmas, every single day.
Every single day, every day. I would love to know, Vicky, when you were sitting there in that doctor's office going, there must be something, it's not normal, and you
Mm.
had to get quite assertive with them. What was going through your mind at that point?
So at the point that I was I was just angry. I I had no idea it could be anything serious. Like obviously you have nosebleeds for 4.5 years and they were getting worse and worse and worse. It got to the point where if I washed my face, my nose would bleed for about 25 minutes and I'd use a whole loo roll. It was nuts. Um, and we'd Googled and we'd spoken to different people, and everyone's like, oh, maybe it's just a bit dry. And they kept saying they could see a wound in my nose. And the doctors kept, so the letter from the appointment when I was like got the biopsy and then was later diagnosed actually said they thought I was picking my nose as a 34-year-old woman. It said, I think she just needs to stop. It said like digital agitation or something. And I thought, I'm a grown up and a woman, least likely to pick my nose. Like, I think I'd stop if my nose was bleeding multiple times a day. And it was that treatment that just got me so angry. I thought this isn't normal, and my nose was changing shape. And I got to the point where I was showing them side profile pictures of myself and saying this is different. I couldn't wear sunglasses anymore because the pain would hurt so much, and just no one was listening. And I was just angry. But I
Mm,
was angry because I wanted the problem solved. I wasn't angry because I thought I was seriously ill. I had no
mm,
idea about head and neck cancer, which I'm not sure about over there, but over here it's the seventh most common cancer. And we just, nobody had no idea that the amount of people I'd spoken to about my nose and nobody suggested it. And when the results came in, they clearly knew they'd messed up. So I had like a 3-minute appointment just saying, oh, you've got cancer. Someone will call you in 2 weeks. And then I was ushered out of the building. And it was,
what?
yeah, I'd gone on my own. I just got a call saying the doctor wants to see you. No, you should bring someone with you. So I'd gone on my own, turned out, told to leave the building. They told me what kind of cancer it was. Um, and that meant I had enough to go home and Google it. So within like a few hours, I'd convinced myself I was going to die. I was going to leave my daughter without a parent. And that it was just going to be horrific because if squamous cell sarcoma spreads beyond the skin, it's not great. So I was like, I've got a year to live. This is awful. And luckily, my husband kind of took charge and called the hospital and said, right, you need to call us in and talk to us about what's happening.
Yeah.
But it was a real unexpected blow. You don't think from a nosebleed that it
Mm.
will be anything like that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like I was prone to nosebleeds as a kid, and no one ever thought twice of it, anything of
Mm,
it. That is astounding how you were just dismissed and invalidated for everything that you went through. Like to say that
yeah.
it's because you're picking your nose,
Mm,
it just seems like such a harsh way of dealing with a health problem that
yeah.
is just like, "Oh, we're going to sweep it under the carpet." And then when they do realize something is quite wrong, not to even acknowledge that this could have been picked up sooner, that
Mm.
your intuitive self knew to push for more and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all quite shocking. And numerous people have commented along the way that it's an issue that you have with women in healthcare, is we're always seen to be a bit dramatic and it can't be that bad and everything. And then it's also just that like here in the UK, obviously we have the NHS and they are pressed, they are under a lot of strain. And if you don't fit the demographic of a certain health condition,
Mm,
it doesn't really come up. And I've come across a lot of stories of young people predominantly and young women especially who have had late cancer diagnoses because they just didn't fit the demographic at all.
mm, yeah. You got to be in the checkbox for them to sort of pinpoint down on it quite early. I have heard this in
Yeah.
Australia as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. What a what a resilient woman you are
Oh,
to
thank
you have but going through a cancer journey while you're newly married, you have step parenting on its own is an entirely different
you.
journey to
Yeah.
navigate, as well as a little one in your life. And anyone who has had children themselves know how difficult that first like 0 to 2 years is to
Mm.
lose your voice while you are trying to parent. And even like you mentioned, like even like trying to like, tell them off, but also like building that connection. Like
Mm.
you use voice in so many situations when you have a young baby around, where talking to them, singing to them, just all around in general, and it's how they pick up a lot. How did you sustain that connection when you were feeling terrible in your own self? How did you do?
Mm. It was really difficult, but I think because we'd had such a rough first year where she was in and out of hospital, and then we just managed to find our feet. It was
Mm,
the thing that we both, my husband and I both agreed was the most important was that Evelyn, my daughter, wasn't at all impacted by my treatment or what was going on. We just said like our storm will not let her get wet. We're here to protect her.
mm,
So we agreed that all of the energy I had while I was on treatment would go to her. So I didn't have to clean, I didn't have to do anything around the home if I didn't have the energy for it. My job was to nap so that when she came home from daycare, I was good to go, and I could be full on mum. And while I wasn't talking, it was like I could whisper, but my daughter was conversational from like 15 months. Her grasp on language was outrageous. So it was really quite like painful for me to not be able to share that with her. But my husband really stepped up and we're very tactile. So even now, she'll just come for a cuddle. She doesn't want to talk about how she's feeling. She'll just come over and have a little cuddle. And quite often she comes and finds me and just holds my hand because I did things like that, like to let her know I was there. Instead of constantly talking while I was playing with her, I'd just hold her hand or I'd like tap her on the shoulder or something. And we moved more to a physical basis. We were quite honest with her because I had bandages all over my face and I was not well. So we did say, "Oh, mummy's feeling a bit poorly, and mummy's mouth is sore, so it hurts. I can't talk and things." And you know how toddlers go through that phase where they're trying to shove everything in your mouth, and mine was
mm,
so sore. And it was like, no, mummy's mouth's sore, no. Um, but yeah, the not talking, we very much navigated with physical contact and like dancing, and she'll still dance now, so I could stand up and have a little dance with her, and we moved play more to things like that rather than things where I had to talk her through everything.
mhm. That's so good. That's so good. It just shows the value of connection. Doesn't have
Mm,
to be words coming out of the mouth. It can be
yeah.
just your energy is there, your eye contact, your touch. She feels
Mm,
all of that from you, and that's so beautiful and a beautiful reminder to all of us. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Um, it's really, really quite interesting that you had your personal development sort of just kick off right before you went through this massive, I don't challenge, change. None of the words seem quite descriptive enough to encapsulate what you've been through, Vikki. How would you say that what you went through has deepened your belief system, your inner work?
Mm, I think so. I got into personal development when I was in my early 20s. I didn't grow up in a very happy childhood situation. It wasn't awful, there was no abuse or anything, but we weren't a very happy family. And I moved out as soon as I could, and then was like essentially on a mission to make myself as different from them as possible. So I went on it, and I had been reading all the books, going to all the live events, listening to the podcasts, and it really helped me to get through what happened, both having the premature baby and then going on to have cancer. Um, and it gave me a level of emotional intelligence that meant that I didn't fall into a depression. I didn't really like get lost. I just accepted that it was happening to me and then, right, how do we get through it? And it gave me that. But what I didn't get until my challenge was it was all a bit surface level. It was kind of oh yeah, this is what I should be doing. This is what everyone says you just have to do is just accept this and get through and be resilient and be tough. And it was only when I think when I had that panic attack where I thought I'm going to die and my daughter's not going to have me, that I almost opened the door to like the raw emotional side of me and what it really felt like to accept that this was happening and what really mattered. Like I had a real thing. I said I didn't leave the house for a few months because I unknowingly had pinned all of my value on looking a certain way and being a certain way and fitting in and being acceptable. Like, not stunning, but like I was acceptable. I fit in certain rooms. I had a corporate position and I looked like a corporate person, and that was grand. And I didn't realize how much of my identity was that. So when it was taken away from me, I felt like shame and that I was an embarrassment to my family and I couldn't believe I brought this upon people. Why would anyone want to be seen in public with me? I was a monster. Why would anyone want to look at me in public? What did I have to offer anymore? Um, and when I really sat with that, because I had a lot of time on treatment, sit around, I found this new level of myself where I started to recognize my true value. And it happened slowly. I don't want anyone to think that I just woke up one day and thought, no, I'm fabulous. This is great. Um, it happened really slowly where I started to realize I'm still a really loving mum. And part of this journey will help me to raise a daughter who isn't like, doesn't think how she looks is her value. And I started to see the glimmers in, oh, well, I'm the kind of person that thinks like that. And oh, I'm the kind of person that can get up and go for a walk like I know I should on chemo. And then I really focused on my fitness because I wanted to still be a healthy, fit mum. And I was like, oh, I'm the kind of person that can put my health first. And then I was headhunted for my new job, and that gave me I do still have value in the workplace. And and bit by bit, I just rebuilt this new person, but it wasn't, whilst I had the groundwork from all those years of reading the personal development books, it was more authentic. It was a real true, who am I? And what do I actually feel about things rather than just, I've got to get through this because that's what we do.
Yeah. Yes, I feel like morning routines are often placed in that basket. You know, everyone's got that
Mm,
checklist. I have to wake up and meditate for 10 minutes, and then I have to journal, and then I have to sip my cacao looking longingly out the window and tick all done. Okay, now I can just go and live my life and do whatever
yeah.
and not fit like actually be feeling everything in the moment. Whereas I like to look at practices as something that you do intentionally all throughout the day. It's not just one section of
Mm.
the moment. I'd love to know, Vikki, apart from hiding in the house, what were people's reactions to your change in your physical look?
Um, so this has been quite an interesting journey. See, I was terrified that my daughter would be scared of me. That was my real big thing. And then I moved to, well, my husband still fancy me and what will go on. And my daughter just kind of was, okay. And my stepson the same. I had this cup thing. They modeled me a almost like a prosthesis, but it was just a cup shaped to it like my original nose, and that was
Okay.
taped to my face. So it looked a bit like I'd had a nose job or something because I still had the tip of my nose. It just looked like I'd had a nose job.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people, when I did start going in public, would stare a lot, particularly when I was on treatment because my lymph nodes really suffered. So I got a big puffy face and I'd have puffy eyes and everything was a bit sunburnt and red. Um, so if I was going out to a treatment appointment, a lot of people would stare. And then when all that started to get better, and when I was waiting for my reconstruction, so I still had the cup on. Yeah, just a lot of people would stare at me. Mainly, oddly, middle-aged men were very, what's
Really?
going on? Yeah, had a few like I'd be in a shop and they'd do a lap around the aisles to come back and have a second lick. And like very
Really?
obviously. Yeah. Um older people were just very cut like they give me a little smile and things. Young girls were also quite like judgy, but I took that as they just think I'm vain and I've had a nose job and they're like, oh, what's going on there? I did get a few comments from like teenagers, children, obviously, constantly, Mummy, what's wrong with her nose? Like, fine. And I'd always rather someone asked, if nothing else, because I wanted to raise awareness because I'd had no idea about the cancer. Um, but I did have a few. There was one time I was in Pets at Home and a young girl was there. I'd put her like late teens, was there with her friends, and she turned round. You know, when you kind of almost bump into someone, she turned around and she was like, "Oh, what is that?" And like just was really rude. And I went out and cried in the car park about that. Because these were early when I was trying to get back into society. So I'd gone to the pet shop at 8 o'clock at night just before it shut, thinking it would be empty. And there was that. And there was another lady when I was in a supermarket, her child walked into me. And I said, "Oh, sorry." And she went a bit shouty and then called me a creature. And I was like, it's got a little thing on my nose. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a real mixed bag. Once I had my reconstruction and I wasn't wearing the cup anymore, and you could kind of see there was something wrong with my face that I hadn't caused myself, and I was on a journey, I get a lot more sympathetic glances. And I think I've encountered a few people who have known people that have had head and neck cancers and therefore had similar reconstructions. So they kind of give me a knowing look. Um, but in some ways, it's it's not very nice to go out and have people look at you with sympathy all the time.
No, it's not.
Like
Because
I'm
you're
most of it
right,
being
that's all
normal.
they're saying about you, right?
Yeah.
Not you as an actual person.
Yeah, and the people I know, so the people like closest to me, a lot of them say I don't even notice anymore. They're just like I just talk to you, and occasionally if I go and have a surgery and I've got stitches in or something, they'll notice. But otherwise, they say, "Oh, I barely even notice. It's just what you look like now."
Yeah.
And some people have said that it's actually made me more attractive, like not in a traditional way, but they've said it's softened your face a bit and there's something different about you and you've
Yeah.
got like a warmer, friendlier kind of face. Which some of that might be the journey I've been on. I'm
Yeah.
not wrapped up in that corporate, like be the best, be the most amazing. And I'm a bit more human and authentic now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a real mixed bag. My husband still fancies me, so that's nice.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's had his own journey because obviously when you have something on your face, it was hard for us to kiss and engage and like the head and neck radiotherapy makes your mouth really dry and everything really sore. And even now, like my mouth will still continue to get better, but it is still quite dry. So we've had our own intimacy journey. But he is very much in the camp that when I look at you, I see someone that conquered this. I don't
Mhm.
see someone with like a defect on their face. So that's just as part of your story, um, which is really different. I couldn't have imagined it. I thought I was going to be a freak and that I just wouldn't look
Mm.
like everyone else and I was going to be horrible. He'd think I was ugly. Everyone would think I was like this ugly outcast.
Mm.
And it's not been like that at all.
Yeah.
Not, I have to accept that people will look. We're human, we look. But usually it's with kindness, not with like disgust.
Mm. What was the biggest lesson out of your intimacy journey in that part that you took away from that with your husband?
Oh, good question. I think I very much learned that how you feel about yourself governs how your intimacy works. So
Mm.
my husband was, I don't think there was ever a time where he was not up for it. Like, like he was there. He was, he was a deprived man. that I think when I first had my reconstructive surgery, I it was kind of they took bits from all over my body to rebuild my nose, and I had scars and things all over me, and I was doing a lot of physio and a lot of recovery, and I was very open with him about what I was doing, so putting this cream here and that, like doing whatever. So he did say to me then, "Oh, I feel like you're a bit fragile, like I don't really know what to do with you." But all the way through, and I would roll this back to pregnancy and postnatal and everything, how I felt about myself has been the biggest steer on how our intimacy is and how affectionate he is with me, how intimate he wants to be with me. When I've been in places where I was telling myself I was overweight or I looked horrible or I was a monster and I should hide inside or whatever language was going on in my head, those were times when he wasn't trying and he wasn't giving me cuddles, he wasn't doing whatever, because you do put this invisible wall up, they can feel it. But
Mm,
once I started to come back to myself and feel a bit more confident and feel more like rediscover my value and my true essence, then he was all over me, can't get him off me. And I think it's how you feel and how you approach it is such a huge foundation for how another person is going to respond to you.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Just like any other situation, right?
Mm,
Um, uh,
yeah.
was there any time that you looked in the mirror and you're like, I just don't know who I am anymore? And what emotions were attached with that? And how did you shift it to be where you are right now?
Yeah, there definitely were a few like transformative moments. So when I first had my nose removed, I woke up with the cup on, and I probably in denial. Like I woke up laughing. I was having a great time in hospital. I thought that was going to be the hardest part, and I think I was just in denial, and I wouldn't take the cup off. So I had to go into the hospital and get them to clean it and look after it for me because I just wouldn't take it off and look in the mirror and see what was going on. And then there was a point, I did that for months actually, and there was a point after treatment where I thought I need to do this. So I would like peek one side, peek the other side, and then one day I just took it off and like looked myself square in the mirror and saw I had a hole in my face, my nose was gone. And like, who was this person? And it was a real kind of it was like everything came home at once. It had actually been
Mm,
happening. I was changed. Everything would be different going forwards. And that was really tough. It was I something shifted in me then where it I just thought I have to get through this. And probably in quite a toxic, negative way, was like I just need to be the best person I can be so that people will love me even though I look like this. And then I had a couple more months of like being at home, got my job, did the value building that I was speaking about earlier. And I'd got quite comfortable with like my changed appearance and washing my nose and having a little look. And then I went for a consultation for the surgery, and my husband was in the room, and they like took the cut. And it was the first time he'd seen it, and I again felt all that shame and all that. Oh, am I okay? It was almost like I was fine with myself, but I wasn't sure other people would accept me. And he did. He's a squeamish man, and he was like, "Oh, it's so weird. It's like someone had rubbed your nose out. It was odd." And it
did he say that?
yeah, yeah. He
Oh
said
my
because
gosh.
he saw me on a side profile and he said it was really weird. It was like someone had like rubbed your nose out. Um, yeah, but I think because he just hadn't seen it and it's quite shocking. You can't imagine until you've seen like a face without a nose. It's quite odd. Um, so yeah, but I survived that, and there was again something shifted in me where I thought, okay, the person that I care about most has seen me like that,
Mhm.
and I'm okay. I've survived. He's still here. He came home with me. It's like everything's okay. And then I really didn't want to do this, but there's a cancer charity in the UK called Look Good, Feel Better, and they focus on helping people care for themselves after cancer and get back to themselves. And they invited me to go to a style workshop which till this point I'd been living in black jumpers, black leggings, hide, like just be
Mhm.
invisible. And I really didn't want to, but I went along being like, what else am I going to do? And the lady there was so kind, and she treated everybody in the room not like cancer patients, but just like women who wanted to look and feel good. And
Mm.
it was the first time I realized since I've been diagnosed that someone spoke to Vikki and not to the patient or the cancer.
Oh.
Um, and
Mm.
it was almost like I came back into my body a bit. And like maybe because we were talking about our bodies at the same time, she was doing like, oh, you're an hourglass, you're this, you shouldn't wear that, and putting us in front of a mirror. And it was like I came home and there was this real connection. And all of a sudden, I I think I'd had this language of, oh, there's no point in wearing makeup, there's no point in getting dressed up because I'd just be polishing a turd. Like everyone knows I'd look horrible now. So, and I stood in front of that mirror and she put this dress on me, and I thought, I can still look beautiful. Like I still am beautiful. I can still do this. And then I went out into the shop and just bought loads of things I never would have bought.
Mm.
And over the next couple of months, I started to wear things that I'd always wanted to wear, but never thought I was pretty enough to wear. Like we all have that image, don't we? That like, oh, this sort of woman wears that dress, and this sort of girl wears that stylish clothing or whatever. And I started to buy those things for myself, and like stand out and be different and take an effort and a pride in my appearance. And it's just grown from there, really. Like since then, I've been to makeup workshops, I've done a photo shoot, I've got through to the finals of a beauty pageant,
Mm.
like, and I've just really embraced my appearance.
Was that the catalyst of entering into the beauty competition?
Oh no, no. So the beauty pageant, my friend did one. And she'd always wanted to do one since she was a little girl, and she did one and had a great time and said, "Oh, you must do this, you must." So I entered, and I got through to the final before all of the cancer stuff happened.
Oh.
And then when it happened, I wrote to them and said, "I'm really sorry, I have to withdraw. I've been diagnosed with cancer. This has happened." And they wrote back and said, we can defer your place. And at the time, it was the last thing I wanted to. I was like, fine, do what you want. And then they wrote to me in the summer and said, oh, do you want this place? Like, you're still in the final. Would you like this place? And I really wrestled with it for a little while and thought, oh, can I? I don't look like a beauty pageant contestant. Like, can I do this? And ultimately, for me, the line was that if my daughter saw me stand up on that stage and not even win, but just be so proud of who I am and my appearance, then that could only be good for her, and it could only be good for me. I was like, "Okay, if I can stand on a beauty pageant stage and say I deserve to be here and taking up this space,
Mm.
then I can stand anywhere in my life, really, can't I?"
Yes, yes, you can. And it's not just for your daughter, it's for every
Mm,
person out there that is battling cancer or has battled cancer or their parents have gone through it. And you are gorgeous. Like, you are
thank you.
absolutely gorgeous. And the light radiating out of your eyes is so captivating. And anyone who's
Oh, thank
listening just to the podcast, go and look at the clips that are out there because
you.
Vicky's eyes are just shining so brightly and it's almost
Oh,
going to make me cry saying that.
oh,
And
thank you.
I'm so excited for you to be doing that, to be standing on a stage and going, I am who I am, and I am worthy of being here. Because if that's not a winner to me, like that's what we do in life. We stand on a
Mm,
stage and we just go, this is who I am. And often we don't stand in that spotlight because we
yeah,
are ashamed of various different things or we're hiding from various different things. So, Vicky, you're so brave to have gone through this roller coaster and being so open and honest and vulnerable with the lessons that you've learned along the way, and the role model that you are for your daughter is just incredible. And
thank you.
we've talked a lot about parents today, but obviously a journey with cancer has so many more challenges than what we've even had
Mm,
time to discuss, like the resilience and going through treatments, the fatigue. Your body in general is just amazing to be sitting here today sharing with us you. you. So thank you for that. Um,
Yeah, thank
we're,
you.
we're coming to an end. So I've got three questions for you, Vikki, my Empress questions, and
Ooh.
I'm excited to hear how you answer these. The first one is, how do you embody your Empress?
Oh, I think just by always asking myself, what do I want to do in
Mm,
any situation? What will be most fun? What will be most magical? What do I want out of this?
beautiful. That main character energy.
Yeah.
Nice. And what does your Empress energy feel like for you?
It feels like life, really. Like, yeah, being here. Um, I think before I found my Empress energy, I was very just kind of doing the things in the motions, and I
Mhm.
wasn't alive and vibrant and in it. And now, yeah, I feel alive.
Yay. Love it. Love that. And what are your parting words of wisdom for inspiring your nation?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think no matter what you're going through, you will get through and you will surprise yourself with the person that you are on the other side.
Mm, yes, you will surprise yourself. You will make it.
Yeah,
Holding that faith and having hope.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Vikki, thank you so much for being on Embody Your Empress. Thank you
Thank you for
for your
having me.
vulnerability. Like you're a hero. Your courage is astounding. And I don't know if you feel that yet or you're going to reflect on it one day, but what you're doing and what you're sharing about is changing someone out there, is giving them a perspective that they really needed to hear, is going to be that teenager in the shop that's going to have more compassion for someone next time. And
Mm,
thank you. Thank you for being here.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Oh.